December 30th, 2024 in Hillsborough, North Carolina, and we're reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 58. We're going to read 3 verses, 26, 27, and 28. Start with 26. Sognistu sto danur adad. Dayam svetam ratam nripa. Arjuna yakshayo tunau. Varmacha babdyam astribi. Saha, that, Agnihi, Lord Agni, Tustaha, pleased, Danuhu, a bow, a dot, gave, Hayan, horses, Shretan, white, Ratam, a chariot, Nripa, O King Parikshit, Arjunaya, to Arjuna, Akshayao, inexhaustible, Tunau, 2 quivers, Varma, armor, Cha, and Abhebdyam, unbreakable, Astribihi, by wielders of weapons. BBT translation. Being pleased, O king, Lord Agni presented Arjuna with a bow. What was Agni pleased about? The fact that he could eat the Kandava forest. Why did he want to eat the Kandava forest? To get the herbs. Why did he need the herbs? Because he was sick. Why was he sick? He ate too much ghee. If you do too many fire yajnas, then you got to throw in some herbs too for Agni. Being pleased, O king, Lord Agni presented Arjuna with a bow, a set of white horses, a chariot, a pair of inexhaustible quivers. So you didn't run out of arrows. Coming useful, right? An armor that no fighter could pierce with weapons. We don't have that in our modern. They have like armor in our modern army that can't be pierced with ordinary bullets, but then the other side will create bullets that can pierce the armor that can't be pierced with bullets. Prabhupada said for every weapon, there's a counter weapon. But these weapons are coming from Agni, they're coming from the Devas, and therefore they're superior to that which we have presently on earth. So I'm going to read 2 more verses, and then I'm going to read the commentaries of the Acharyas on all 3 verses. So 27, Mayas chamo mochito vane, sabjam sakya upaharat, yasmin duryo danas yaj jala stala, drisi brahma. So jala means what? Water, and stala, to stay. So in this case it means land. When the demon Maya was saved by the fire by his friend Arjuna, Maya, now I want you to remember that, his friend Arjuna, because we have different ways of understanding this word sakya is used here. Maya presented him with an assembly hall in which Duryodhana would later mistake water for a solid floor. So you have gifts from Agni and you have a gift from Maya, Danava. 28, Satena samanujnata, suridis chanumodita, ayayao dwar karambuya, satyaki pramakayarvrita. Then Lord Krishna, given leave by Arjuna and other well-wishing relatives and friends, returned to Dwarka with Satyaki and the rest of his entourage. Okay. So I'm going to read. Here we have Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. So his commentary on 26 is Krishna became Arjuna's chariot driver so that Arjuna could get his weapons. Kandava was a forest of Indra. So in other words, Krishna knew when they went on this excursion that Arjuna would get these weapons from Agni. And commentary on 27th is Maya gave the assembly hall to Arjuna, his friend, his friend. So here Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is identifying that Arjuna is Maya's friend, Maya Danava's friend, who saved him from the fire. Within that assembly hall, Duryodhana later became bewildered, and he has no commentary for text 28. So looking at Sanatana Goswami's commentary for text 26. Having devoured the Khandava forest, Saha, Agni gave to Arjuna a white chariot along with white horses. The chariot was white since it was decorated with many pearl garlands and the white flag of Hanuman. O king, so this is the Nripa, O king, Sukadev shouts in joy at the attainments of Parikshit's grandfather. Sukadev Goswami is experiencing transcendental emotions talking about this. Oh, Arjuna got all these amazing weapons. I mean, imagine if someone you cared about, they got this chariot covered with pearls. We've talked before, I think, about pearls. So today in modern society, the pearls you buy are cultured pearls. And the Japanese invented cultured pearls. That's where they keep oysters in cages, and they put beads, some kind of beads, probably plastic, but some kind of beads inside the oyster, and the oyster coats it with a thin layer of nacre, and then they harvest it. Genuine pearls are not like that. Genuine pearls, you have to just find wild oysters, and if you're lucky, you'll find a pearl. And the pearls are built around tiny microscopic bits of dust. So they're basically solid nacre, and there's not very many places anymore in the world you can buy genuine pearls. I know there's one store in New York City where you can. In the island of Bahrain, they only sell genuine pearls. In fact, it's against the law to bring cultured pearls into the country. You can only tell the difference with x-rays. You can't tell the difference just with a visual assessment. And I've been to the pearl shops there, not shopping, just not taking my grandchildren, kind of like going to a museum. And I've seen pearl necklaces there that sell for $500,000 US. One necklace. So imagine the value of Arjuna's chariot. If one necklace of genuine pearls today can cost you $500,000. And he had a whole chariot. And now think about this. I think it was Maharaj who talked about this, about booty. Yeah, I think he gave a class about booty some months ago. One of the ways that governments got their income is if you had a battle and you defeated the other army, you could collect the wealth from the dead warriors. And there was a lot of wealth. They were going into battle with gold jewelry. You know, our modern armies aren't like that. They're just wearing like polyester camouflage outfits and plastic, whatever, metal helmets, but they're not wearing gold jewelry. And their tanks, could you imagine? The tanks are not covered with genuine pearls. That would be very funny in our modern military. But so they had, pearls covering the chariot, and they're wearing like 22 karat gold jewelry and helmets, and they have real jewels. Again, today you buy a little diamond for your girlfriend that costs you like a month's salary, and they had helmets and everything covered with jewels. And this was one of the things when you defeated the army, again, that you collected. It was one of the ways that you maintained your government was by this collection of booty. Of course, it's just very interesting because most of us were taught in school that, a few thousand years ago, human beings were uncivilized. Yes? And that now we're civilized. And Prabhupada says, yes, but now you're giving your wife or your girlfriend plastic bangles, whereas before it was real gold. So it's all a bunch of propaganda. One interesting thing, like I remember learning in school that, all of the people in North America were just uncivilized, tribal savages until the Europeans came. We were taught the same thing about Africa, that until the Europeans colonized Africa, it was just a bunch of uncivilized savages. And I remember it was in the 90s that I was in the Gurukul teaching the students about the original African civilizations, and there were civilizations in Africa where women were wearing gold jewelry this big, like 5 inches in diameter, without fear of thieves, because it was a very developed society. And so people were wearing, again, gold and jewels. And so we've been fed a whole lot of propaganda that the modern society is more advanced and that the ancient cultures were not more advanced. So this is rubbish. Okay, Sanatana Goswami, all right, to finish this. O King, Sukadeva shouts joy at the attainment of Parikshit's grandfather. Okay, I read that. It's commentary on 27. The Lord saved the demon, that's Maya, the demon Maya Danba, and the demon gave the friend of Arjuna, or the friend of the Lord, the hall. So this word friend can be interpreted different ways. Or he gave the hall out of friendship with the Pandavas. So you could say Maya was friends with Arjuna, or Maya was friends with the Pandavas, or Maya gave it to Yudhisthira, who's the friend of Arjuna, or he gave it to Arjuna, who's the friend of Krishna. This was different from the Sudharma hall of Dwarka. It is further described that Duryodhana would mistake water for land. So you'll find in the Bhagavatam, the speakers, they put in this little foreshadowing, because the whole Bhagavatam is questions and answers. The entire Bhagavatam. None of the speakers talk about something where there hasn't been a question. And so they put seeds of questions in their statements so that the hearers will become curious. Okay, Sanatana Goswami in text 28. After speaking of previous events, Sukadeva returns to the events after receiving Kalindi. So we do this. Sometimes we're telling a story and then we back up and say, oh, but this happened before, then we go back to our story. He received definite permissions, some anujata from Yudhisthira Tena, after repeatedly asking. So Krishna was asking Yudhisthira again and again and again, can I go home? Can I go home now? Is it all right if I go home now? And Yudhisthira would always say, no. You can't go home. You have to stay. Yudhisthira was older than him. So because he's telling Krishna, you have to stay, Krishna would stay. He did not go previously because he understood affectionate Yudhisthira's unwillingness to let him leave. Arjuna and others, Suridbi, Surid means a very dear friend. Surid, what is dear to the heart, also permitted this. So finally, Yudhisthira and Arjuna also said, you can go home. The word Sahahi also indicates that Krishna went with Kalindi, whom he would marry. Okay, and we'll look at the commentary of Srila Jiva Goswami on 26. Agni also gave Krishna the chakra. So Santosh was reading this yesterday from Krishna book. Because that is well known from other sources, it is not mentioned here. So sometimes you'll find in scripture there's a reiteration of what's given someplace else. Sometimes they repeat it, but in a summarized form. And sometimes they don't say it at all because they figure everybody already knows that from other sources. Satisfied with devouring the forest, Agni gave Arjuna the bow. O king, Sukadeva expresses his joy that Parikshit's grandfather had obtained the bow. And at Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary 227, Maya was saved from the fire by the Lord. And his commentary on 28 echoes Srila Sanatana Goswami's. So we're not going to read that. We're going to go back just to read the 3 verses, 26, 27, 28. Being pleased, O king, Lord Agni presented Arjuna with a bow, a set of white horses, a chariot, which was also white because it was covered with pearls, and the white flag of Hanuman. A pair of inexhaustible quivers and armor that no fighter could pierce with weapons. When the demon Maya was saved from the fire by his friend Arjuna, Maya presented him with an assembly hall in which Duryodhana would later mistake water for a solid floor. Then Lord Krishna, given leave by Arjuna and other well-wishing relatives and friends, returned to Dwarka with Satyaki and the rest of his entourage, which of course includes Kalindi. So here we have 3 verses about people giving and receiving things, yes? Which is one of the 6 loving exchanges. And we have 2 mentions of friendship here, Sakya and Surid. So there's giving and receiving back and forth. And Srila Prabhupada writes in his commentary to Upadesh Amrita, Nectar of Instruction, Text 4, that the Krishna conscious society, its purpose, it's been created in order to facilitate these loving exchanges among the devotees, and the life of our society is nourished by these loving exchanges. I mean, if you think about it, we could each just practice Krishna consciousness in our own home, right? We can have our own altar, and we could just chant our japa in our home, and we could even go out and preach to people and give them books. Why do we need a society? There's many reasons for that, but one of them is to have the 6 loving exchanges. And it's one of the 7 purposes of ISKCON, to bring the members closer to the prime entity Krishna and to bring them closer to each other. So we have these 6 loving exchanges because they're very pleasing to Krishna. Just like in any family, if you have brothers and sisters, your parents are pleased if you get along with your siblings, correct? Yeah? I mean, there was like 10 years when my middle sister wouldn't talk to me because I had joined the Hare Krishna movement. She considered that I had died. And it was very painful for my mother that, 2 of my daughters are not talking to each other. They're not having a relationship with each other. Right before my sister died, I went with my mother and my oldest sister, and my oldest sister's husband to see my middle sister. She was willing to see me because she was at the point of death. And my mother was very happy that all 3 of her daughters were sitting together and talking. Yes, so this is natural. And Krishna also feels like this. Like Krishna says to the Prachetas, I'm very pleased by the cooperation among you. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj talks about the relationship of the gopis, how each of the gopis is trying to have Krishna enjoy with the other gopis, and that Krishna is very pleased by these loving exchanges among his devotees. And it also nourishes us, right? We're souls. We also want to give and receive love. So I thought first we'd look at the gifts given, what gifts were given back and forth, and then how do we give and how do we receive. So what are some of the gifts given here? We have Krishna's driving Arjuna chariot. Gift is not always an object, correct? Right? We talk about, like, if you want to give in charity, that's not all just money. If you're volunteering your time, just like everyone here, we're all volunteering our time to some service here at the temple, correct? Yes? That's not really different than money. If you think about how much somebody would be paid for doing what we're doing, that's also given something. Does this make sense to everybody? Yeah, I'm giving time. Like if you had to hire a cook at $50 an hour and you're cooking for 2 hours, that's as like that you've given a $100 donation. Does this make sense to everybody? Yes? Prabhupada said you can also give your intelligence. There's so many things you can give. A gift is not just sometimes giving your energy, giving your concern, giving your well wishes. So Krishna gave, one of the gifts he gave was driving Arjuna's chariot. Again, that's not like a thing you can hold, but it's still a gift. I'll drive your chariot for you. Just like sometimes we might drive another devotee someplace, yes? Somebody's going to a medical appointment, they're not going to be in any shape to drive back or whatever, or they don't have a car and we drive somebody somewhere. Then Krishna gave the gift of saving Maya's life. So that's also a gift. I mean, that's a supreme gift. We have Bali Maharaj was so indebted to Sukracharya for saving his life when the demons were killed in the fight between the demons and the demigods. So Sukracharya had this well that he could dip all the demons into and then they regained their life. And so Bali Maharaj felt indebted and he accepted Sukracharya as his guru. So Krishna saved Maya's life. Then you have giving, of course, which is not in today's verses, but giving the kind of a forest to Agni to eat, which was difficult because the forest was protected by Indra. This is kind of a funny situation because Indra is actually the biological father of Arjuna, but still Arjuna gives this forest to Agni, and because Krishna is involved with this, Indra couldn't do anything about this. So then you have Agni. What's the gift that Agni gives? Agni gives Krishna what? That's to Arjuna. Agni gives Arjuna 2 inexhaustible quivers. What else does he give Arjuna? A bow. What else? Chariot covered in pearls. And 2 white horses. I'm assuming these weren't just ordinary horses. These were all from a higher realm. You know, sometimes the conspiracy theorists, I don't know if they're right or not, that they say that, you know, the government knows about beings from other planets, that they've had, you know, interactions with beings from other planets who've given them some weaponry. I mean, I don't, you know, our late godbrother Sadhaputta did a lot of research on this. So I don't know if that's true or not, but here we have thousands of years ago that human warriors, of course Arjuna wasn't completely human. He had a demigod father and his mother was half Naga. But anyway, so human warriors could get weaponry from the Devas. And then what did Agni give to Krishna? Sudarshan. Now, of course, this is interesting because Sudarshan is Krishna's eternal weapon. And Sudarshan can be understood also as a manifestation of Krishna himself. So many of us worship Sudarshan as Krishna. In fact, it's explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Ram and his brothers can sometimes be understood as Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, but they can also be understood that Ram is Vasudeva, and that Lakshman is Seshanag, and Bharat is Sudarshan. And I forget who Shatrughna is. So that Bharat is actually the personification of the Sudarshan Chakra. The Sudarshan Chakra is also a personality. You can see deities of Sudarshan, actually that he has a human-like form. And Krishna orders him. Actually, all of Krishna's weapons are all personalities. Even Krishna's emotions are personalities, but that's a whole other discussion. So Sudarshan is his eternal weapon, and yet it appears to be given to him. So this is, of course, very interesting, but it's just like these, the main queens of Krishna are his eternal consorts, and yet they appear to be given to him in marriage. Right? So here you find he accepts Kalindi, or you have some of his other queens who are given to him, the fathers and mothers, just like the father gives away the bride. But actually, that's his eternal consort. So Krishna gets, where does Krishna get his conch shell? Panchajanya. Yes, he killed a demon. He killed a demon when he was rescuing the sons of the son of Sandipani Muni. So again, before that time on this earth, he didn't apparently have his conch shell. There's also some discussion about when Krishna gets a flute. I mean, sometimes you'll see paintings of like really, really, really young baby Krishna with a flute, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't actually get a flute until he's a little older because he uses the flute to herd the calves. So apparently he's given things, or he's given a peacock feather. You know, there's stories like that the peacocks are so thrilled with Krishna's dancing, and he's dancing with the peacocks, that they give him a gift of one of their feathers. Of course, many residents of Vrindavan wear peacock feathers because they're all over the place. Right? So now there's not so many, but so many peacocks. And so people would, when the peacocks shed their feathers after the mating season, so many of the cowherd boys and the gopis would decorate themselves with peacock feathers. But the point is that these gifts appear to be given at a particular time. So that's very interesting, that the devotee gets the pleasure of feeling, I've given this to Krishna. Really, everything we give to Krishna, he already owns, correct? I mean, just like Prabhupada talks about, you offer the Ganga water from the Ganga. You know, if I'm offering a lamp to Krishna, so he already owns the copper of the lamp, he already owns the cotton of the wick, he already owns the ghee, he is the fire. I'm can't really, one of my favorite discussions is when Krishna's talking with Rukmini and he's convincing her she should leave him because one of his arguments is that he's penniless. And she says, you can say you don't own anything, but that's because you are everything. So if it's you can say you don't own it because you are it. So in one sense, everything we're giving to Krishna. You know, someone right now, I think Santosh Prabhu is cooking in the kitchen. And who's dressing the deities today? Chaitanya's dressing, that's right. Monday is Chaitanya's day. So Chaitanya's dressing. So and then all the clothes, right? The clothes you're giving Krishna, the jewelry you're giving him, the turban, the whatever you're cooking in the kitchen, the potatoes, that's already Krishna's. But still you're saying, here, I'm giving it to you as if he didn't have it before. So this is, and then Krishna gets the joy of receiving it. This is one of the things we're talking about, these weddings with the queens. So Krishna's eternally married to them, but yet weddings can be fun. They're not always fun, but they can be fun, right? When I was in South Africa, I went to a wedding. It was definitely in the fun at least most of it, not all of it, but most of it was in the fun category. So Krishna also likes to have these weddings, and his wives like to have these weddings, so they're eternally getting married, and yet they're eternally already married. You follow? And they have this joy. Like, oh, I'm seeing Sita for the first time. I've never seen her before. I'm seeing Ram for the first time. That first glance, that first love. They get to experience that over and over and over again, as if it's never happened before, as if they're really seeing each other for the first time. And that, seeing Ram break the bow and going up and garlanding him, Sita gets to experience that over and over and over. And having the wedding, and so all these experiences they get to always experience. It's not like the wedding's over and then it's just over. Now we have to just pay the $20,000 bill. But they're always. So Krishna gets this joy of getting the Sudarshan Chakra from Agni. Oh, what a wonderful gift. Yes? Okay, then you have Maya giving this special assembly house that could fool people. Because he was a demon who had magical powers, he gave them an assembly house that was magical. It must have been kind of a fun place, and you had to know the magic tricks, and if you didn't know the magic tricks, you could be fooled by them, which happened to Duryodhana. And Duryodhana, instead of taking in a spirit of fun, he became insulted. Yes, we've had this experience. Sometimes we try to do something in a spirit of fun and the other person gets insulted. Or sometimes we're insulted when somebody's joking around. Then Krishna was giving himself to the Pandavas. Can I go back to Dwarka now? No, can you stay? Okay, I'll stay. I've been here a long time. Can you just stay a little? Okay, I'll stay. Krishna is Swarat. He's a supreme independent. He can go whenever he wants. Mahaprabhu did the same thing in Jagannath Puri. He's asking permission. Can I go to South India? No, not now. Can I go? No, not. Can I go to Vrindavan? After this festival. Okay, can I go now? No, well, there's another festival coming up. Can you wait? Can I go? No, there's not. And then the year passed. Can I go to? Can I go to? Well, if you're going to go on this trip, you've got to take some people with you. Oh, but if I take anybody, then some of you will be happy. Some of you will be disappointed. I've got to take a new man. There's all this, right? And we have Gadadhar Pandit following Mahaprabhu. You can't leave without me. I won't be separated from you. And Mahaprabhu says, you can't leave. You have this vow of Kshetra Sannyas. No, I want to leave anyway. And then he goes on another path so Lord Chaitanya doesn't see him. And eventually he catches up with him. And then Mahaprabhu says, all right, you've broken your vow now. Are you happy? Go back. So he's having to ask these permissions. Yes, so Krishna's giving his presence to the Pandavas. And the Pandavas are giving hospitality to Krishna. That's not a small thing. Krishna's there with his entourage. Here, Bir Krishna Maharaj, Leela Shakti, they're always in anxiety about how to be hospitable to Radha and Krishna and Giriraj, right? It's a big deal. So many artiks, so many offerings, so many dresses, so many bathings. It's a big deal. Imagine, then of course they also have to take care of the devotees, so they do have Krishna's entourage. They have to worry about feeding me and Dayaradika and Mahatma and Nadi Krishna. Those of us who live here, how are we going to take in Chintamani and Krishna Priya? How are we going to take care of Krishna's entourage? Make sure they have heat and water and electricity and internet, right? Make sure we're taken care of. And then all the visitors that come, all of you who are coming from other places, and you're also part of Krishna's entourage. So the Pandavas Krishna's there with a big entourage, and so they're giving them hospitality. They're giving everybody a place to stay and nice food to eat, and I'm sure entertainment and excursions. Like sometimes when I visit places, and this just happened to me in Cape Town, it was a long journey there, and the temple president said, well, you can have a rest day before you give any class. And he said, would you like to see some things around Cape Town? Usually, unless I'm traveling with a grandkid, I don't do that. But they said, we can take you to a park and we can take you to the ocean. So those are, I don't say no to parks and oceans. So they took me to this wonderful botanical gardens by Table Mountain, and then they took me to the Cape of Good Hope. So I saw the Indian Ocean on one side, the Atlantic Ocean on another side. They're giving me hospitality, right? So they're giving Krishna hospitality. They're taking him around, taking him on tours. Let's see this thing, let's see that thing, right? And the Pandavas, their final gift was giving Krishna permission to depart, saying, okay, now you can leave, now you can go home. So what were the feelings of giving? The feeling was friendship. We have the Sakya and Suhrid. We're giving out of affection. It's not a business transaction. It's not like, well, if I give Krishna this, if I give the devotees this, then I'll get this in the future. That's giving in Rajagun. And it's not even giving just to feel happy. That's giving in Sattvagun. But it's giving out of just genuine friendship and affection. There's not any kind of calculation. There's not any kind of selfishness. I just want the other person to be happy. And given what's needed, what the other person will really appreciate. The Pandavas could use an assembly hall. They had just set up Indraprastha. And they were given Indraprastha as a wasteland by the Kurus. Okay, you want a kingdom? You can have this useless thing. And Krishna had worked with the Devas to make Indraprastha beautiful, but then they needed buildings. So this will come in handy for you. And Arjuna needed weapons, and he was going to need celestial weapons. And Krishna needed weapons, so what do they need? So giving is knowing the desires and the needs of the person to whom you're giving, which means you have to know something about them. Does this make sense to everybody? Yes? Once at a Christmas party, my oldest son was given a blue China dog. And he had very young children at the time. It's like, have you ever gotten gifts like this, that you look at the gifts and you're like, thank you, I guess. So giving is giving with really trying to understand, with love, with friendship, the happy, wanting to make the other person happy, wanting to do something that's really going to benefit them. And we're very lucky that Krishna tells us, Patram Pushpam Palam Twam, he tells us what he wants. And gifts of our time, Manmana Bhavabad Bhakta, he's telling us, what do I want? Then receiving gifts, so also receiving in gratitude, receiving with friendship, even if sometimes the gifts are a blue China dog. Accepting the love. Actually, this what they call the attitude of gratitude. It's one of the 14 items of knowledge, and it's been proved in medical science to make us healthier, to help make us mentally healthier, to make us physically healthier. Some time ago, I was saying to one devotee, oh, look at this nice thing that just happened. And the devotee said, well, yeah, but this didn't happen, and this other thing didn't happen, and this other thing didn't happen. And I'm like, whoa. To give out of gratitude and to accept out of gratitude, to give out of friendship, to accept out of friendship, to cultivate love. I mean, one of the requests that Krishna is eager to answer is, may love bloom in my heart. May my intrinsic love as a soul, I as a soul am naturally filled with love. Can you please manifest that? Manifest my love for you. Manifest my love for the devotees. Manifest my love for all living entities. We should actually be giving some gifts of our time, our love, our consideration to every living entity. And to be grateful for anything that anybody ever does for us. And to perceive gifts in a very wide range. And then our ISKCON society will be nurtured and it will be the life of our society. So questions, comments, corrections, additions, subtractions. Any mistakes here are mine, and I hope you will correct them. Anything good here is from Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas and not from me.
So we have Maya Danava. Is he like Bali Maharaj, like basically a devotee, or?
I was wondering about that because, you know, Maya is a demon, but here he's saying he's like a friend of the Pandavas. So, you know, they helped him out, but I don't think he's basically a devotee. No, I've never read that. I mean, I'll be happy to be corrected on this. But, you know, sometimes, like, the police make friends with some criminals because they can help them with something. Right? So I think it's kind of like that. Anybody else? Bali Maharaj, yes, he's one of the Mahajans. Anything else? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.